welcome to my channel. My name is Mackenzie Mason. If you haven't been here before, welcome. It's the second weekend in October, which means we are just that much closer to Halloween. So today, since I did my intro last weekend, this weekend, we're getting into like the good stuff, okay? So this is really the origin story of Halloween. And so to go along with that, I'm going to be doing my makeup inspired by those roots, those pagan roots of how Halloween started and how it morphed into what it is today in the US. But so we're going to kind of be multitasking. I'm going to be doing my makeup and talking you through that a little bit, but then I'm also going to be telling you about Halloween. Okay, so the first thing, of course, that we want to start with is going to be primer. I'm still using samples because I haven't decided my favorite primer yet. I'm still kind of like feeling it out. So this is a Smashbox Vitamin Glow Primer. It's photo finish. So I'm just going to be putting that all over my face. And this is just going to smooth out my skin surface to help get better coverage, help my makeup stay all day. So the first thing that I'm going to tell you is everything points back to the ancient Celtic festival of, I would have said Samhain, but there was a little thing right next to the word that tells you how to pronounce it, and it's Samhain, I believe. So these people believed that on this night of the year, when it was transferring from the summer and the harvest season, and they were getting their final harvest before the frost set in, that this was kind of like an end to one season and a beginning of another. So kind of closing a chapter but opening another one. They celebrated the end of the summer season and the beginning of the winter season with this festival. Okay, so pause. Let me tell you a little bit about what else I'm going to be doing. I'm going to do my eyebrows. So I'm just using this Sheglam dark brown eyebrow pomade. I will show you that in the description, and then just a regular eyebrow pencil. And while I work on my eyebrows, let me tell you a little bit more about this ancient festival. Okay, so the big thing that they believed that kind of, I think, freaked most people out is they believed that on this night that was separating the summer from the winter, that, well, where's fall in there? I don't know. Sorry, just a Mackenzie side note, but like, I don't know. I like fall. How come they didn't have a fall? But anyways, sorry. They believed that on this night, the barrier between the physical realm and the spiritual realm was temporarily lifted. I think maybe people won't admit, it depends on the person. If they believe in, you know, spiritual beings and they believe in an afterlife, or, you know, a place between when you are alive and when you're dead. And these people really believed in, I didn't research enough to find out if they believed in an afterlife, but they definitely believed that there were spirits that would travel back and forth between the human realm and their nether region, that's what they called it, during this night. So, of course, I mean, they're not just coming to say, hey, and, you know, how's it going? How's little Susie doing? They believed that these spirits, for the most part, were evil. So, that's where we get a lot of the next things that you'll hear about. Okay, so they believed that interaction between humans and denizens of the other worlds could happen, okay? That people could come between worlds and you could see all sorts of different creatures and spirits and things that were coming and walking that gap between worlds and showing up. And so, of course, I mean, that's scary. I would be scared. So this festival takes place between the fall equinox and the winter solstice. So I guess they did kind of have fall in there, but it was considered the most important of their 4 fire festivals held every quarter. So instead of being like, oh, happy spring, they had a fire festival, or, you know, happy winter, happy summer, whatever. They held these fire festivals because they were very tied to their religion and to their beliefs. And so they really stuck to these festivals because, I mean, I don't like that we try and say that people in the past were uneducated, or, you know, they didn't know any better or whatever. I mean, I believe what I choose to believe because of the knowledge that I have gained, you know, over the years and studying and just my own personal experience. And so I think that that is, you know, what it was like for them too. Now, of course, the world was different then, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they were foolish or, you know, whatever in believing what they believed, because it was important to them and they cared about it. And so it's just as valid. And I feel like it's easy to look at that and be like, oh, they just, you know, were uneducated. They didn't know any better. But this was important to them. It was passed down through the generations, and they had a lot more respect, I think, than we do today. Not to, you know, down talk people of today or their religious beliefs, but I don't know. It's interesting the differes between the two. Anyways, so they had a communal fire and they would sacrifice cattle, which sounds gruesome, but if you think about it, at that time, that's how they got their food. They had to do everything themselves. They didn't, you know, they couldn't go to the grocery store and buy a hunk of meat. They had to raise it themselves or capture it. They had to then butcher it, and they had to, you know, cut apart the meat and separate the meat from the rest of the animal and use what they could from it. And so to them, sacrificing an animal was a big deal, to have to just give away all that they could have been using for themselves because they were afraid of these, maybe not deities, but like spirits. They sacrificed cattle at this big fire, and they all would get together, and it was partially a celebration, but also partially like a preservation, a way to, you know, keep their crops growing healthy for the next year and appease the spirits that, you know, could affect them the rest of the year. This is their one chance to like show these spirits like, hey, it's all good. Don't, you know, don't hate us. Don't, you know, curse us or whatever. This is their chance to show them, if you think about it, you know? So anyways, all right, so now that I have my eyebrows completed, I am going to take an Urban Decay eyeshadow primer potion. I got a fun little lid on there. But anyways, I'm going to take this and I'm going to put it on my eyelids to prime so that I can put eyeshadow. Okay, so back to the story. All right, so they had this big bonfire. They would let their own fire go out at home in their hearths, and they would all gather around this big bonfire, and they believed that fairies, or Sids as they were called back then, could cross the barrier, so they left offerings for them and dressed as monsters and animals to keep from getting kidnapped. Because they thought that, you know, these different creatures, one of them would be the Sids. There were other kinds that we'll hear about as I keep talking, but they thought that these creatures could cross over the barrier because it was open, it was, you know, lowered, and they could cross over this barrier and they could come and they could attack or steal the souls of the people living in the regular world, right, that hadn't died yet. And someone from the other world takes you back to their other world, you're dead. Okay, that's like the Grim Reaper coming and stealing you kind of thing. Just side note really quick, we're using the 3503 Fierce by Nature Morphe palette. I still haven't decided how I'm supposed to pronounce that. But we're kind of doing like a burgundy and black look. You can pick your own colors if you want something different. Feel free. There is no rules with this, so you can do whatever the heck you want. So I'm just taking a dense shadow brush and picking out a deep burgundy. No. Yeah, deep burgundy. Okay, sorry. Deep burgundy slash kind of almost like a purpley plum color, and I'm putting that in my crease, but don't put it too high because we're going to blend it up. So just a little lower part of your crease. Okay. So anyways, that is why they would leave things out for the creatures to come and take, or why they would sacrifice cattle or sheep or whatever animals, because they were trying to appease these creatures, because they were afraid that, you know, if these creatures were displeased with them, then they would kidnap them and take them. These monsters came from their mythology, okay? So they believed in all these different, oh sorry, this is just a clean brush. I'm blending this up now. But they believed in all of these different creatures because of the mythology and like the different beliefs that they had. This wasn't just like, you know, where are these creatures coming from? They believed in them based on legends. They heard about different things from, you know, their father and their father's father and before that. And so stuff is passed down in a way that makes it really easy to like sort of twist the story a little bit, make it more interesting tonight, and oh, now my kids all believe that like there's fairies that exist, and so now when they tell the story to the next person, well, they believe in it too now because that's how they heard about things back then. And so it's really easy for stuff to get skewed and twisted when that is how information gets passed. Okay, put time out again. I'm using a more neutral shade, same brush, and using that to help blend in this burgundy a little bit too. Okay, so then after I blend that up towards my brow, I'm gonna extend this line out further so we get a little bit more intense look. Now that I've given you kind of like the base story of what all went on and like why they were doing what they were doing, I am going to tell you some of the stories that they believed in. So some of their like mythology and what they thought could come and capture them, you know, on this All Hallows Eve, on this Samhain. All right, so the first one that I'm going to tell you about is going to be Puka. Puka was a shapeshifter who received offerings from the fields and would bring good or bad fortune based on that, okay? So the grain that they were growing, or, you know, the corn or the vegetables or whatever that they grew in their fields, whether or not they had success, they believed came from this puka. The puka could have dark or white fur, and it could be fur or hair, kind of like a weird mix, and they believed, like I said, that it was a shapeshifter. So it could look like a horse, or it could look like a goat, or a cat, or a dog, or a hare. Time out again. After we do that burgundy, I think we're going to stick to more matte colors. I'm taking a little bit of like a burnt orange, this color over here, and just adding that a little bit lower, because this is a little bit, I just want to deepen that shade, you know? All right. And you can go all over your lid and just really get that in there, really nice and dark, and layer it a couple times, you know, if you want to, whatever. Okay, so the next evil being that we will discuss is referred to as the Lady Gwyn. She was a headless woman dressed in white, but they believed that she would pretend to be a lost soul and would chase and catch anyone wandering. So on that night, I don't know why they didn't just all hide in their houses. Maybe they were afraid that if they didn't honor these spirits and these demons that they would come after them. So they're out having this bonfire, but if you're wandering or you're headed back home, they were to be afraid of this Lady Gwyn because she could catch anyone and she could take them and, you know, capture them. They also believed that she had a tailless black pig, or sow as they would refer to it, with her. So you'll see a lot of pictures sort of in like their representation of what these people believed in, of this headless woman in this white gown with this pig next to her, black pig, no tail.
So now I'm just putting some of this darker brown shade on my lid and extending that V to deepen the look on my eyes and make it look a little bit more intense.
I have this really pretty color in here. It's almost like a pink, well, it's not pink. It's like a pinker burgundy. Oh, can you see that? Okay, so it's like, I don't know. We're going to use that. And a reddish brown. Put those right on my lid. Okay, now, we already primed our face. So, we can go right into foundation. I am using Juvia's Place I Am Magic Velvety Matte Foundation. Full coverage. Giza 540. I like that they named these after places in Africa. I think that's really cool. Okay. So, the first thing I'm all over the place. I like to put this on my makeup brush, and then I like to put it on my face. I don't know if this color matches. Oh, maybe not. Oh, it's dark. We're gonna roll with it and fix this later. Okay. Take your sponge after you have your foundation, you know, spritz. Or you can use water, but I like to use a setting spray. And just really press that into your skin. Ooh, this really is a very full coverage. It's just too bad it's too dark for me. Oh, I'm mad. Okay, but anyways, get these bad boys up. I gotta cover my ears now too because this stuff is just so freaking dark on my skin. I'm gonna have to wear a turtleneck. Okay, anyways, the story of Stingy Jack. It's quite the name. Alright, so this man's name was Jack, hence the name Stingy Jack, and he was known around town because he was a drunkard, okay? and he had a silver tongue. So because of this, the devil took notice. Anyways, it was because of his boldness that the devil saw him, I guess. I don't really know how they thought it worked back then. Where did they think the devil was just like watching? I don't really know. But anyways, they believed that the devil came down to earth and met with Jack. And, you know, of course, you see the devil coming down, you're like, oh crap, he's here to take my soul. It's my time. But Jack, not being willing to listen, was like, not gonna happen. So he was like, how can I outwit the devil? So he thought quick, because, you know, that's what he was known for, thinking on his toes. And he goes, okay, I know that you're here to take me away. So my last request is, can I just have, you know, a few drinks before we go? You can sit with me, have a few drinks, we'll chat, and then we can go to hell. I'll come with you. So the devil was like, okay, whatever, fine. So, time out. This is the Airspun loose face powder. I'm just setting my face. So, they go to the bar, you know, or whatever, the pub, and they're having a few drinks. They're having drinks, you know, whatever. And when the bill came, Jack asked the devil to pay. By then, the devil was, you know, a little tipsy, which I didn't think that the devil could get drunk, but whatever. This is the story, okay? I shouldn't be questioning it. Anyway, so he says, well, you're paying, right? And the devil's like, oh, crap. I left my wallet in Hades. So Jack's like, bummer. Guess the only solution then is going to be for you to turn yourself into a silver coin to pay. And the devil, for some reason, was like, okay, good idea. I'll do that. This is Sheglam concealer. Putting it under my eyes. And so as soon as he turned himself into a coin, Jack snatched him off of the counter and shoved him in his pocket, where he had a crucifix hidden. Now, if you know anything, you know that the devil and crucifixes, or I don't know what the plural of crucifix is. Anyways, the devil and crucifix things do not mesh. So he was stuck. He was stuck in this coin form. And he begged Jack to let him go. Please let me turn back into the devil. But the only way that he could do that would be if Jack took him out of his pocket. Now, Jack is smart, okay? So he says, okay, it's fine. I'll take you out of my pocket so you can turn back into the devil. But, I'm just taking another foundation brush. But, only if you promise to give me another decade before you come calling for me again. And so the devil was like, fine, whatever. I guess I can give you another decade. He's like, all right, fine. Go ahead, live your life, for another decade, and I'll see you again. So, time goes on. A decade passes. And the devil comes back. And Jack is like, shoot, he's here for my soul. It's been a decade. I don't want to go. I'm gonna have to think of a way to, to solve this problem again. So, thinking quickly, knowing that apparently the devil is nicer than one would assume, he asked the devil if he could fill his belly before he leaves this earth. Weird request, but okay, the devil will humor him. And so Jack, because apparently he just can't do anything for himself, asked the devil to climb a near tree and get him an apple, so he can have something to eat before he has to go to the underworld. Makes sense, I guess. Not really. Anyways, so the devil climbs the tree because, he's just such a good guy. Climbs this tree, and as soon as he's up the tree, Jack quickly carves a crucifix in the tree. It's been blundered again. The devil just has been outsmarted by this intelligent man. So the devil's been outsmarted again. He's, please let me down. I just want to go back to hell, okay? Just let me go. Let me go home. And so Jack says, all right, I'll let you go. But you have to promise never, ever to allow me to enter hell. So, the devil's like, it's the only way down. Guess I gotta promise him that, I'll never accept him at the gates of hell. Cool. You know, Jack is like, wow, I'm so smart. I got this all figured out and, you know, we're good to go. So Jack continues living his life and the devil goes back to hell and, you know, things are good. But eventually, Jack's life of drunkenness and frivolity catches up with him and he dies. So he goes to heaven. But when he gets to the door, the entrance, the gates of heaven, they won't let him in because of the life he's lived. They're like, no way. No way, Jose. So Jack's like, I guess I have to go to hell, which apparently was a reasonable alternative. And so he goes down to hell and he gets to the gates of hell and he looks at the devil, you know, he meets him there. He said, please let me in. Well, the devil, holding true to his promise, was like, oh no, sorry, but I promised you I would never let you into the gates of hell. He was like, you can't turn me away with nothing. And so the devil took a single ember from hell and gave it to Jack and said, be gone. So all Jack had was this ember to light his way. So he carved out a turnip, not a pumpkin or a gourd, a turnip. And he placed the ember in the turnip and he carried it with him to light his way. And so this is another one of those scary figures that the people of this culture believed could come after them, you know, so of course they were scared. Okay, so the next thing that I am going to be doing is taking my palette again, and I'm just going in with like a denser brush. Anyways, like I was saying, almost like a little halo. Woo, it's dark. Okay, Stingy Jack. That was one of my favorite stories. And then the next one, let's see if I pronounce this correctly. The Dullahan. So he's a headless rider, obviously. And he's on a black horse, which, you know, adds to the scare factor. And he carries his or her head, doesn't have to be a man, his or her head in his arm. He is the embodiment of this Celtic god known as Cromdubh. I don't know if if I explained that properly, but anyways, that's what he was. He's the embodiment of this scary god. And this scary god comes from Ireland. Comes from Ireland. His or her mouth, so their mouth, is a hideous grin that touches both sides of the head, with eyes that can see vast distances, even on the darkest night. Okay, so this not only looks scary, but like, this boy can find you. So he's a real creepy dude, okay? And even more scary, they use a human spine as a whip. Okay, that's terrifying. Seems like it would fall apart, but apparently it doesn't. And then they have a wagon filled with funeral objects. They had really specific funeral objects in that era, that time. And so he had a cart full of these, and you wouldn't just have them, you know, to carry around with you, okay? Like, that's why it was creepy. And then candles and skulls, human skulls, to light his way. Also, his wagon had a covering of human skin. And when the rider stopped riding, someone would die, no matter what, okay? That's what they believed. They call out their victim's name, drawing in their soul. Allegedly, golden objects can force it to disappear. Okay, so apparently I wasn't recording when I did all of this. I was struggling trying to use tape, and then I realized, forget that. So what I actually did, I put it on with a small foundation brush, mixed together this like red and gray colors. Then I actually took a beauty blender I wasn't using, and I like softened down here. Okay.
Like a bird on a tree, I'm just sitting here. I got time.
Alright guys, my eyeliner My Tarte eyeliner ran out. I need a new one. So I forgot I was going to use these magnetic lashes anyways, but they come with an eyeliner that's magnetic so that you can stick the magnets to the liner. So I'm actually going to do my liner. Ooh, this has got one of those tips. We'll see how it goes. I'm going to do my liner with this. So
The truth around you, from a distance you can tell.
Alright, so that's the liner, but I'm also going to use some black liner. So, same brush, same liner. Going to take this black and the last story are the fairy host. Okay, so the fairy host was a group of hunters that would haunt and kidnap people. Similarly, the slough come from the west and enter homes to take souls. So these were great hordes of people on, like, I don't even know. It was just like big group of scary like fairy beings, but not like the Princess Disney fairy, like the scary fairy, okay? And they would come into homes and steal souls away. Spirits of the restless dead that were not allowed into heaven or hell. And they would fly in flocks like birds, okay? Have you ever seen crows that are like flocking? That's some scary stuff, man, okay? Like, that's intense. Those guys are intense, okay? So I just, scary story. Okay, so then the last thing I wanted to tell you before I'm almost finished, I wanted to tell you about when their big bonfire was over and they got to go home at night. Remember, they were scared to be like wandering souls because they didn't want the evil beings to like get them and kill them or whatever, or, you know, take them to the underworld and kidnap their souls. So what they did was everybody took an ember from this dying fire and took it back to their home hearth and used it to relight the fires in their hearth at home so they didn't have to be afraid of being alone. Okay, I know this is pretty imperfect, but if that doesn't define me as a human being, I don't know what does. Okay, the last thing I want to do is okay, now the purpose of such a look is to scare your enemies, or in this case, scare the evil beings away or trick them into thinking that you too are an evil being on the hunt for souls. So, the scarier the better. And that kind of segues nicely into what I'm going to talk about next week, because I'm going to tell you a little bit about some of the traditions that we have now and where they come from. All right, my friends, I put on my finished lashes. I did some mascara. Bailey Sarian recommends these Essence Lash Princess Mascara. This is the False Lash Effect Mascara. It was literally $3. I was like, oh, I'm gonna buy that. Buy one, get one 50% off. $4 for 2 things of mascara? Yes, please. I took my bow out of my hair. Sorry, it's wet. I was dyeing the underneath, so good times. But anyways, put on the lashes and mascara, and here is the final look. I also changed my shirt because I felt like the floral didn't really go with the whole warrior princess Celtic vibe. But anyways, what do you think? Let me know down below. That's it for today. I hope you enjoyed my story about Halloween. What do you think? I mean, what of those sort of spirit demon people that we heard about would you be scared of? now? Like, what did you think about their mythology? And I don't know, the Headless Horseman, which is actually called the Dullahan, makes him sound a lot more spooky. Or maybe the Fairy Host would probably be the scariest to me. Although a headless lady with a pig is probably scary too. So I don't know. Let me know down below though. Thanks so much for joining me today. I can't wait for next week where we are going to talk about Halloween traditions. We're going to do some werewolf makeup, you know, good times. Get out the fangs. Anyways, thanks again for being here. Have a great day. Bye.